Okay, the room muted.
Okay, good morning, everyone. I'm going to call this meeting to order. We would like to recognize that this meeting is being held on the traditional territory of the Lillooet Nation. Approval of the agenda.
Chairman, I'd like to approve the agenda, but I would like to request that item 7.4
Be removed.
removed.
Okay.
That's the OCP amendment bylaw 1776-2023, the electoral area B zoning bylaw amendments.
I'll second that. Okay. Did you want it deferred?
Removed, there's some more work to be done and it may come back, but I didn't want to ask for it to be deferred at this point, just to have it removed at this point in time.
And then you can
Yeah, I've seconded
work
it.
on it. Okay, so
Thank you.
moved and seconded.
Yep.
Okay, call a question, all in favor, opposed, motion carried. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, so approval of the agenda. Moved and seconded. Call a question, all in favor, opposed, motion carried. Thank you. No close. So no rise report. Consent agenda. Could I have somebody move that?
I'd like to move the consent agenda.
Okay, moved and seconded. Call a question, all in favor, opposed, motion carried. Thank you. Business arising from the minutes. None. Staff reports and other business. CAO verbal update.
Thank you, Chair. One item I'd like to introduce Mr. Omar Butt, who's joined us last week as the new Director of Environmental Services. I know some of you had a chance to quickly say hello here, but really pleased to have Omar join us and be on the ground now. And so you'll certainly be seeing him getting out and about into your electoral areas and touching base with you. So
Yeah, welcome. That's good. Excellent. Okay, that's it.
yes.
Okay, so 7.2. Do we need a motion to
Yes,
Okay.
please.
receive?
So moved to receive the CAO.
Moved and seconded.
Welcome, Omar.
Call a question, all in favor, opposed, motion carried. 7.2 is April 2023 Select Funds Report.
Mr. Francis is just
Coming in.
Good.
coming in.
Good morning, Suzanne.
Good morning.
How are you?
Very well, thanks.
You made it through the big financial period, so now on to the next one. Never ending. Do you want to give us an update on these select funds?
Yeah, so before you is the select fund reports. We don't normally have a presentation, but if there's any questions on them, I can answer.
Any questions for any myself?
Thank you, Chair. Director LaFrance, just looking at Area A Select and allocated funds. The Brailer and Fire Protection Association, they got approval for their $30,000.
Yes.
The and the LaJoy Lake Residents Association, I just received some documents that they've got approval to move forward. And that's at $25,000. So by the end of the week, you'll be getting something for them to get their money.
Okay, thanks.
That has been a 6-year process.
Wow.
Yeah, and that's great to see for our community. That's all.
Good.
Thank you, Chair Mac. This is France. I'm looking at area B, of course, and at the bottom, the area B wildfire equipment and fuel reserve. I have let Maud know about that fund because originally goes back to Mickey McRae setting some aside with the idea of being able to do some prescriptions in area B for fire smarting in the broad sense on Crown land, and we don't need to pay for that anymore, if I understand correctly. And so, as far as I'm concerned, that fund is available for whatever our brilliant fire people think is appropriate for area B. And I've made them aware that that's sitting there, that 69,000. Just running that by you to make sure that I'm on track with that. Also, similar thinking, the electoral B parks fund. Should we move that over to the area B parks service area now at this point in time? Yes.
Yes, yep. So I think that was just missed. The Area B parks have been moved to the new services. It was just missed in this report. We'll change that to 3006, which is your Area B parks fund. Right now it says 3,000. And for the fire mitigation reserve, the fire equipment and fuel reserve, when you say the fire people, what do you mean? Is it the internal department that we have? Oh, okay,
yes.
Perfect. Yeah, I just wanted to double check.
And I had a really wonderful conversation with Maud Lossier, and she's doing some phenomenal things. And I also see the announcement about the fire smarting and so on. And those programs have been so valuable in area B, and we need to do more. And so I'm happy to have that identified there kind of for those purposes as things develop, and just that they're there for that purpose is a really great thing in B. So I was just making sure that was a reasonable way of thinking about the funds in area B. That's all I had. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, that's it then. How about you, Leslie? Do you have anything you wanted to ask about that area D?
I don't. I reviewed all of these. I didn't have an opportunity to speak with Tony about it directly, but all of the allocations make sense to me. I guess I'm curious about the allocation for the fire hose for the Ashley Creek Foundation, the fire roller, as we have not heard any word about that. I think we were waiting to have a conversation with Russell Mack to learn if there was a less expensive way of doing it. So I was surprised to see that amount included in this report. That's
Yeah, and it's too bad you weren't here today, because finally there's actually, I keep missing the people downstairs, but I did one evening I was here at a meeting and I went down, and that roller is still, they're using it downstairs, so it's still attached to the wall. Maybe what I'll have to do is the next meeting when Tony's here, even for our board meeting at the end of the month, I'll get him to go downstairs and I'll make sure somebody's here so he can take a picture of that, and we can get the measurements. Yeah, like I say, it's strange. Anytime you want somebody to be downstairs, there's nobody there, so the place is locked. But anyways, I know the roller's still there and it's still being used, so we'll get a picture of it for you and the measurements. So
that would be terrific.
You can get one made.
Great.
So, anyways.
Okay. Thank you. So let's just leave that $5,000 in there as allocations committed in 2022, if that's okay.
Okay.
And I don't have any other questions or comments about anything else that's on there.
Okay, and with area C, I'm good with what's in there. Yeah, it's all good. Okay, so we just need a motion then to receive. Moved and seconded.
Yep.
Call the question, all in favor, opposed, motion carried. Thank you. Thank you, Suzanne. Okay, 7.3, request for decision, building bylaw number 1611-2020. Amendment bylaw number 1816-2023. Do we have any staff?
Miss Needham's coming in there.
Okay. Morning, Kim.
Good morning.
How are you?
Good, thanks.
Okay. Do you want to just give us a brief overview of 7.3?
Yes, so this is a bylaw amendment to our building bylaw to incorporate some of the performance paths to compliance in the energy step code. And so it's just a few tweaks to our building bylaw to refer to the BC Energy Step Code and to add some reference to some of the compliance paths that have been enabled to us. So this report is requesting that this go to the board and it be given for second, third reading and adopted.
Yes, Sal, go ahead.
Thank you, Chair Matt. Director Needham, it would have been really good to have kind of overview of step code 3. Even if it's just an overview. I think when it goes to the board, I'd like to see that. So that we fully understand what we're looking at. Thank you.
Judith?
I would support that too. I feel like I'm sort of voting a little bit blindly here and we're anticipating upcoming revisions and incorporating them into a bylaw. We haven't actually seen the code with the actual wording yet, if I understand this. And we're skipping the public hearing. So I feel a little more information. I'd be comfortable with a bit more information myself along the lines of what Director Demare just said. Thank you.
Yeah, no, I feel the same way. When I read it, these step codes, to be perfectly honest, they really,
Well, we lost,
they kind of worry me.
we lost Kim.
Oh,
We'll just wait for her to come back into the waiting room and we'll let her back in. So perhaps we could just recess for a moment until she's back with us, so she doesn't miss any of this. Thanks.
Yeah.
hi Kim, you're back.
Yeah, not quite sure what happened there. My apologies.
Okay,
Kim,
we're moving.
sorry, we
moving forward?
recessed, sorry to interrupt. We recessed, Kim, until you were back, so that you could hear the comments of the committee. Thanks.
Okay, so as I was saying, when I read this, like these step codes, as you're well aware, kind of, I don't know how to take them because it just seems to me on one hand, we're talking about affordable housing. And on the other hand, we're adding step codes, which most certainly add a cost to the square footage of building a home, depending on where we go. Now, in there it said step code 3, but they also mentioned step code 2. So where are we planning on landing with this?
Through the chair, is Jay McEwen in the waiting room? He's supposed to be here to speak to this report. What I can say, and I'm certainly not as familiar with the step code requirements as Mr. McEwen, but we are being mandated to step code 3 by the province. So we don't have an ability to opt out. And as for the affordability piece, from what I understand, that is actually a misconception, that the step code will actually drive affordability issues. I see Mr. McEwen coming into the room, so maybe he can speak to the step code 3 requirements a little bit more.
What was the question?
So my question was, in the report, it mentioned step code 3, but it also mentioned step code 2. So where now, and then Kim has just said that we have to land on step code 3 going forward.
Yeah.
And that's the minimum that we can get away with, or the maximum, or whatever.
So the building code revision effective May 1st says that residential buildings, and the stipulation for where that begins and ends is there with in part 9 or 6 stories or less, which doesn't very often happen in the SLRD, will be required to meet step 3 or equivalency through the prescriptive path that they've defined in this new revision. Part 3 buildings, complex buildings, commercial buildings, hospitals, et cetera, those requirements are step 2. So there's a different set of rules for part 3 buildings versus part 9 buildings. Most housing is regulated under part 9 of the BC Building Code.
So
Thank you. Yeah, so I'd opt for option 2. And the reason is that we need that overview so that the public can see what's happening. So we need that overview. So, we can share it on the newsletter. I can share it in the newsletter, so everybody knows what's happening. So in the overview, some of the stuff that you just talked about should be in it. And then also some of the key pieces that make up step code 3.
Okay, just given to that, as of May 1st, the SLRD will not have an option.
Well, that's fine, but at least at the board meeting, we can have that overview. We can do first, second, and third, and adopt all at once through the board. But we need that overview.
Just, and then to further clarify, the amendment to the bylaw is that in the new revision of the building code, there's the requirement for buildings to meet, part 9 buildings to meet step 3 of the step code, or there's a prescriptive path in areas, in more rural areas where energy advisors aren't available for homeowners to engage to meet them. So the reason for this amendment is for the SLRD to allow for people to not need the services of an energy advisor and still be in compliance with the BC Building Code revisions as of May 1st. But as of May 1st, unless we have this in time for that May 1st revision, all we'll be able to do for compliance in Part 9 of the building code is the use of an energy advisor. We won't have that option. And unless we enact it by bylaw.
To the chair, the board meeting is on 22nd.
19th, and
Yes,
yep, 19th.
is there enough time to get that in by May 1st? If we approve it at the board.
If we approve it today and approve it at the board, it will be in our building bylaw by May 1st, yes.
We don't have to approve it today. We can approve it at the board meeting. Correct? Because until the board approves it,
It's not agreeable.
it's not approved.
Yeah, so through the chair, it could be referred to the board. And the committee, as I'm hearing, can request that additional information be brought forward at that time, so that the public has a clear understanding for what the actual changes mean. That's I think what I'm hearing from around the table. That just ask Ms. Needham and the building inspector if that works.
Yes, through the chair, we can do a report to the board that includes additional information describing what is involved with step code 3 and provide a little bit more information about the prescriptive path route.
That would be very helpful. You missed the first part of the conversation, Jay, that we were not understanding the background here or what this meant. I know considerably more now just from what you just said and feel a lot more friendly towards this request. And I really appreciate what you're saying about the difficulty in getting necessarily an energy assessment expert to come to some of our areas. So I see the advantage for the constituents, but it would be really helpful to have that background in a report for the board meeting, and then I will happily be in support at that point. So it doesn't have to be a big report, but just some of those pertinent facts would be really helpful. Thank you.
Yeah, happy to elaborate. Yeah.
So the step code 3 was part 9 buildings, and the step code 2 was part
3 buildings.
3. Okay. So we just need to then move option 2. Would that work?
I'm just trying to look at.
Chair, if I can propose some wording, just that staff provide the additional requested information and this be brought back to the April board meeting.
Yes,
Okay,
please.
moved and seconded. Call a question, all in favor, opposed, motion carried. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks. The 7.4 has been removed.
Thank you.
So now we go to 7.5, information report, project summary, CRI 2023 Fire Smart Structure Protection Program.
Maud's a hero in Area B.
Good morning, Maud.
Good morning, everybody. How are you?
Fine, thank you.
Thank you for having me today. I intend to participate in these meetings more in this year, and so you will see me at least every other month, if not more. And so I want to keep you all updated with what is happening with the Fire Smart program and other wildfire mitigation initiatives in the SLRD. And I want to start this morning by thanking you all for participating in Patricia news release this week as we are kicking off our Fire Smart program. So, and so this year we are offering free home assessments and a rebates program for primary residents. And so I thank you for participating, but I also would like to ask you to help me spread the word, because Fire Smart is only effective if everybody is on board. And so it's important to solicit people and encourage them to participate. The other thing I wanted to mention is that we are having a cold spring, and it is difficult to motivate people to think about wildfire when we are still having snow on the ground in some places. In Fire Smart only works if everybody does it, and if everybody remembers, in 2021 we also had a very cold spring, and we all know now what happened that year. And so I thank you all in advance for your support to spread the word. And so the reason why I'm here today is to talk a little bit about what I'm doing these days. And so we have just received the final drafts of our CWRPs for area A and B. And so the SLRD has now all its CWRPs completed for all areas. The next time you will see me will be at the board meeting to present you those drafts for approval. What I do with the CWRPs is that I use that as a guideline to tell me what each area needs in terms of wildfire mitigation and fire smart activities. So it's a very important document. So I'm very much looking forward to presenting those to you all. And so one of the recommendation in those CWRPs is to equip the SLRD with a new layer of mitigation or wildfire defense, which is a sprinkler system. And so this year, for the very first time, the Union of BC Municipality is offering a funding to local governments to acquire a structural protection unit. So this is a very, very big step that is initiated by BC Wildfire Service and Fire Smart, because it is empowering local governments to really build a last line of defense that they have control on. And what I mean by this is that usually we see BC Wildfire Service responding in areas that are not under fire service with their own structure protection units. So if you recall seeing that on the news, or maybe you've seen some being deployed, is that the structure protection crew would come and lay sprinklers on critical infrastructure that could be communication towers or bridges or water delivery systems, and on some residents' houses. The BC Wildfire Service only owns 8 of those trailers. So that's a very, very small number for how big our province is and how long our wildfire seasons are. And so what they do is that they rent out through contractors about 40 units that are made available. But because the wildfires are intensifying and the wildfire season is very long, we can't really completely rely on those being available to us if a wildfire would come very close to an SLRD community or an SLRD infrastructure. So the goal here is to train the already in place volunteer firefighters and equip the local governments with their own SPUs. And so I intend to get one for the SLRD. Communities are mostly all located in the wildland urban interface. We are seeing, even in area C and D, some some drought, and the communities are fire smart, but they are still very much at risk of being affected by embers, and the infrastructure that resides within those electoral areas, within all electoral areas, is also at risk. And so this is an opportunity for us to basically get another layer of defense. And so it's a 4-year-long program, which means that every year we apply for a portion of the total funds. I have been working with BC Wildfire Service since last October to make sure that we are following all the steps and they are helping us through this. And so I have not applied for this stream yet because I'm still at the planning stage with BC Wildfire Service right now. But the next step for us will be to have a community assessment done. And then after that, I can apply for the phase 1. And so I attached some literature for all of you to review. And if you have any questions, I can answer some of them now. And yeah.
So my one question, this is an excellent opportunity. I think that if we can, we should be going for the 2 units, start building them at the same time. And the only problem I do have is spreading it out over 4 years. That's I mean, you should be trying to get this thing in operation, or these things in operation as soon as possible. 4 years to me is not too wise. But anyways, the other thing that I noticed was the trailer doesn't come in till the 4th segment of this operation. That I think the trailer should be in the first segment, because you start buying all this equipment. In the meantime, where are you going to store it all? So if you had the trailer up front, you could start equipping the trailer with the equipment as it comes in. And then it's in a secure location, it's in a secure unit, and the firefighters who would be putting all this equipment on these trailers would get familiar with it. Yeah, that just doesn't make any sense to me. So maybe that's something for you or Mark to take forward to whoever made this plan, and just suggest to them maybe they need to change that just to get those trailers up front, and then we don't have equipment stored wherever. I have no idea where we're going to store it. So
it's a really good question. If I may, I had the exact same reaction that you had, and I brought this question up to BC Wildfire Service, and they gave me permission to go for to start with phase 3, which is the phase that is the trailer acquisition. And so that problem is now solved.
So you've already dealt with it. This is wonderful. So no, it just makes common sense, obviously.
Absolutely.
Yeah, cool. All right. Any others?
You go ahead. I got lots.
Vivian, go ahead.
Okay, I'm thrilled about this, and thank you. And I really enjoyed our conversation that we had earlier. I'm very appreciative of what you're doing in Area B, and you're working with my little brigades. I know during the McKay fire, when it was threatening Houston and the Yalakum, the North Vancouver guys came up with their structural protection unit, and they installed some sprinklers, and they did an incredible amount of teaching with the people. And they, in turn, were telling me some of the things they learned from the structural protection unit staff and the North Vancouver guys. It was an amazing resource. We were very grateful, and we wished we'd had more of them all over the place during the McKay. So this is working to have more of that all over the place in future. But did I hear you say, because I missed that, we're working on one unit for a starting point?
Yes, so the funding, this is the first of all, I just want to mention that the SLRD is the first regional district to go through this stream of funding ever. So we're all blazing the trail here. This is a program that's mostly been designed for municipalities. And so there's a lot of figuring out along the way that I'm currently doing with BC Wildfire Service, who have been really good at answering my questions and, so so they are offering one, and I do recognize and acknowledge how that there's an urgency on this, and that having to wait 4 years is a little bit, it's annoying. However, I think the goal here is to equip us with the capacity to at least deploy a portion of it. And so, that's the other thing, is that the first step is to train those, to cross-train those volunteer firefighters to learn how to deploy. And so, ultimately on my vision board, I do have many SPUs for every electoral areas, but I mean, this one is an easy one. It's free, and I have the capacity to lead this project. And so, whereas if every electoral area should get their own, I mean, sure, but keep in mind that these SPUs require to be deployed safely, required a 5 firefighter crew. And so what to keep in mind is that if you take these firefighters, that capacity from a fire hall, you need to maintain a minimum that is required at the fire hall for a response, right? And so if you take, for example, if Britannia Beach decides to use the SPU because there was a wildfire threatening Furry Creek, then they would need to maintain at the Britannia Beach Fire Hall a minimum staffing while these 5 firefighters are out on deployment, right? And so it's just to navigate this and just to make sure that, because we have 2 kind of fully staffed fire hall down in Area D, it's easier for me to use Area D's fire staff to bring this SPU within the SLRD. But ultimately, and because we're having a fire service review, then and because this will take 4 years to get, it is giving us time to figure out how we want this to be deployed and what are going to be the guidelines, and to put this down in writing. But yeah, let's not forget that there are minimum requirements for the fire halls to be staffed at all times for other emergencies. And so at this very moment, it is something that we need to look into, as and maybe not electoral areas at this moment would have that capacity, but again, something to look into down the line. Does that answer your question?
Somewhat. Of course, I think you should start in B, being the highest risk, but there we go. I also understand what you're saying about the capacity, and probably that some years ago, I helped Darren Oiki purchase a unit for the Lillooet Fire Hall.
So this is exactly the unit that we would be getting.
Okay, that's beautiful. I'll stop there. I know Director Demare has lots of questions. Thank you, Maude. This is very good work. I appreciate what's going on.
Go ahead.
You're welcome.
Chair, Ms. Lucy, I got a number of questions, and Mike, you may be able to help. Just recently, through the volunteer funding that was available, the SRD was able to get, I think it was $60,000 grant, and they purchased a unit. What type unit was that for $60,000? SP unit. Was it level 1? Level 3?
Through the chair, are you talking about the one in Lillooet or the one at Gun Lake?
No, the SLRD got that funding.
Oh.
Warren got it.
Yeah, this, to the chair, and Mo, please correct me if I'm wrong. So this was, just for the equipment, for Garibaldi and Britannia. I believe it was a type 1, so it's not the same level as this one that we're looking at. But it is really the pumps and the hoses, and it does have, the capacity for us to continue to build on that as we go forwards.
You're $69,000.
Yeah, okay, I got it. You know me.
The chair.
Okay, yeah, no, that's fine.
I will just also just a huge thanks for Mode for laying this out. And I think as we are building this, and I mean, Mode as our wildfire mitigation lead has been at this a few weeks now. And I think as we are building this multi-year strategic approach to wildfire preparedness and mitigation, that we do have a lot of opportunities, and this feedback and the opportunities that are in front of us are presenting. We're building that approach. So just to flag that this is the start of that kind of roadmap going forwards, and it is a kind of building block piece. But
So the next question is, the municipalities with their trailers, I've heard that they can't come out to rural areas unless they rent them out to BC Wildfire Service. Is that correct?
Through the chair, so if a municipality or if the SLRD would acquire with its own funds an SPU, a way to get some money back from that is to put it in a pool of rental units, so you could potentially offset some of those costs that way. This particular one, because it is funded by UBCM, is not eligible to be in a pool for rentals. And so I think for municipalities during the summer, during wildfire season, if they have extra ones that they're not using, they could potentially put them in those pools, but it doesn't mean that they can deploy into the SLRD. Like it does not, it's only the equipment, not the firefighter that comes with, it's only the equipment.
Okay.
So, for example, they could not deploy let's say, I don't know, very hypothetically, like Vancouver could not come into the SLRD and put a structure protection unit onto a community.
Well, let's take this scenario. I was able to get training through Tom Boschler. I don't know if you've talked to Tom Boschler. Have you
I
talked?
have not.
Have not. He's in charge of the whole program, structural protection unit program, and we're going to get trained out in the valley. They're coming out on 28th, 29th for a 2-day course. And how we could make it happen, because we don't have a unit. He asked me, what does the Gun Lake Fire have as far as a structural protection equipment? And I got a list from them, and it was good. And that's what we're going to use for the training. Gun Lake Fire has already done a S-115 course a number of years ago, and they've got a number of people have those certificates. It's not the WSPP 115 that you require now, but they go a little bit more in depth into it. But this new course is what they're all going to get. They're all going to get certificates. We can have up to 25 participants. Currently, we're at about 16 that have registered. And we'll get more for sure.
That's great.
So the question is, with the trailer that Lillooet has, if they went and got it, took it out, they're already trained to do it. So let's say we had a fire at Marshall Lake, and we wanted to protect those 25, 30 properties that are there, or even Brett Creek, there's about 5 or 6, 8 properties there. Could that happen?
Could Gun Lake deploy at Marshall?
Using the SP unit that Lillooet has.
Oh,
I'd like you to look into that for me.
Through the chair, I have no idea. That's a very good question. And perhaps this is a question for Lillooet, because yeah, I mean, maybe it's maybe there is something about deployment agreements, but definitely something to ask them about.
Yeah,
You'd have to have a mutual aid
I was
agreement.
just gonna,
Probably.
yeah, currently, the Gun Lake Fire has enough to do 15 properties. Equipment that they, through that training, the training they got actually was through the office of the fire commissioner. Going back, they don't do it anymore. That's how I researched to find Tom, is I went to the office of fire commissioner. I says, what is it gonna take to put on a course out in the Bridge River Valley? He put me on the Tom and we went back and forth and we're making it happen. So the last question I'll ask is, we know that the unit is going to be down for, you know, the application is going through Britannia and so on and so forth. But as we move forward, we need one for each north and south. I look at Gun Lake and go back to the 2009 wildfires. They actually brought some units in at Tarleton Lake. And I can't remember if they brought them in at Marshall Lake, because it was quite the fire. It wasn't overly big, but it was 3 communities. And even at Gun Lake, where they had to build a big fire break right through the airport. And there was a time there, Lillooet was evacuated. There was a fire in Seton Portage, that road was closed, and there was a fire at the bottom of the Hurley on the permanent side. You couldn't get in and out. So without having a unit in the Bridge River Valley, how are you know, if we have some fires like that again, how are you ever going to get it in there? You're not. So that whole concept of each electoral area having their own unit is so important. Because when the roads get closed off, how are you going to get in there anyway? Even if the Duffy Lake and the Hurley were closed, you'd have to bring it all the way around.
Okay?
Yep.
So my question is, and this would be for Suzanne, if we wanted to speed this process up individually, like each electoral area, could we possibly use our community gas tax funds or whatever they're called?
Yeah, community works funds. gas
Community
tax.
Works Funds. Could we use that? So could Area C put together, what is it, 178,267, 200,000, say, put that money together and buy our own unit now, not 4 years from now. So I guess the first thing would be from Suzanne, yes, you can use the money for that, or no, you can't.
and if I could through the chair, I would suggest that as Mark mentioned, as Mode's weeks into preparing this more fulsome approach to deploying these units, acquiring these units, that become part of that work. And the intent of the electoral area directors is pretty clear. So I think we can leave that to Mark and team to incorporate the question of how could we pay for this if that was the desired approach into that work. And as Mode said, coming back and engaging with the committee as they build that plan. Yeah, bring that information forward.
Through the chair, I may add, I think as we're building these things, and I think there's a lot of foundational pieces that we're trying to lay at the same time in terms of how do we utilize our volunteer fire departments to deploy these things. And there's a lot of still learning that we are doing to make sure that we're able to effectively support the fire service and put these tools out there. And I think we're fully aware and appreciate the importance of having these SPUs in the right place at the right time to deploy. And I know Mode is very much, as you mentioned, she is trailblazing in terms of actually getting this unit to one of our regional districts. And right now we're kind of following that path of least resistance and still keeping that picture that this is a regional asset. But fully hear you and appreciate that support. And we will go back to our table and continue to look at how we can potentially speed this up and get those units toward the FP.
Excellent, thank you. So,
Thank you, Maude. Excellent work.
You're
Thank
very welcome, everybody, and thank you again for your support through the Fire Smart program.
And if I may, I missed the beginning. I would like to just add, I think this is, I just wanted to say we really appreciate your support, and I'm super proud of the presentation and Mo kind of putting the stuff for us to make sure that our electoral area directors are informed of what we're doing. So hopefully, as we continue to build out this kind of roadmap, that we can come back and continue to keep you informed of our updates and our on our work plan, including this item as well. So thank you.
well, yes, I'll throw that. You're welcome here anytime, because the more information we have, the better we are at, going forward here. And like, I think the most important thing here is speed is really important. Like for the folks at UBCM to say, okay, we're going to make this a 4-year plan. So in the meantime, we just won't have any fires. Like, come on, folks, like, let's get rid of the program here. They're not going to wait for us. We need to expedite this thing as quickly as possible. The other thing too is going out, like you look at that equipment list, that's only for one trailer. So multiply that by 50 or 100 times, if that is the case. Where does all that stuff come from? Because the wildfire service everywhere is trying to get all this equipment. I mean, there's times when we have a fire season, you can't buy foam. It's all long gone, right? So you have to really be ahead of the game buying this equipment. Even the trailers, you want a specific trailer that's designed for this. Well, so does everybody else. So we need to be the first ones at the door. So thank you for everything.
You're very welcome.
Thanks.
So we'll just move receipt.
Seconded.
With a great deal of gratitude.
Yeah,
Thank you.
thank you. So moved and seconded, call a question, all in favor, opposed, motion carried. Thank you very much. Now in director's reports. 8.1, increase EAD director's remuneration, Director Rainbow.
He's on vacation.
I said,
Thank you, Chair. If the committee wishes to consider the next 3 items, I'll ask for a resolution that the committee proceed with the following items despite the absence of Director Rainbow, and that would be item 8.1, 8.2, and 8.3. And that's a requirement of the procedure bylaw. Thank you.
I'll make that motion.
yeah, you'll
Oh,
second it?
of course, yes.
Okay, moved and seconded. Call the question, all in favor, opposed, motion carried. Thank you. So 8.1 is increase EAD director's remuneration. And so that the EAD committee recommends the SLED board that EAD director stipends be increased by 20,000 prior to the 2026 elections, and that this be independent of any cost of living increases. That the increase be made in 3 installments as follows. And I know that the Director Demare and Director Burch-Jones, I think, have convinced me that. So in 2024, it says here 10,000. We would like to take that 10,000 and put it into the 2026 allotment. So then it would be 5,000 in 2024, 5,000 in 2025, and 10,000 in the last year of 2026. Is that correct?
Correct.
So that's an amendment we would like to make to Director Rainbow's remuneration increase here. Does that sound feasible, Kristen?
Thanks, Chair. Not strictly an amendment because nothing's been moved. So you're just,
Okay.
you're
Just
asking
change,
the
we can
committee
change the numbers then
to consider
accordingly.
those numbers, correct? Yeah.
Okay.
Without Tony here.
I'll make that motion as the changes that are requested in it.
Yeah, and I'll second that we're looking at those increases in the order that Director or Chair Mack just listed. 5,000, 2025.
5, and 10.
5,000, 2025, and then leave the 10 for 2026. The intention being that full salary is in place before the next election.
Yeah. You're okay with that, Leslie?
Yes, I'm fine with that. I'm curious why you are deferring that 10 to 2026, but I'm assuming it fits with your financial structure that way. And just because Tony will be asking me questions about it, so
No,
Just
well,
to have an
the fact is,
understanding.
like, I agreed with the way Tony had it, but these guys have talked me into going along with them. So anyways, that's all fine. But Sal might want to explain his reasoning.
It's the perception that we're money hungry at the beginning, where I'm gonna make another motion after this, so to this. So getting it to the last year shows that we're not trying to make ourselves richer. The reason being is that we want this to show other people out there that we're gonna have some increases at the next election. We'd like to get some new blood into electoral areas. And for some people that looking at 30,000 or 33,000 compared to 50,000 may change your minds and say, yeah, that could be a career I could be doing.
Yeah.
So that's the reasoning behind it.
Okay, great. Thank you for the explanation.
Okay. So we've had that moved and seconded. I'll call a question. All in favor, opposed, motion carried. So that's 8.1 then.
I'd like to make another motion off of this. That if approved at the board, that the letter that, or director report that Mr. Rainbow put out there, add this whole resolution, we put into the newsletter. One of the first late newsletters that we put out, because I think it's really important to get it out there so that it starts attracting attention to people that may want to become electoral area director. So I make that motion.
Okay. Kristen, go ahead.
Thanks, and I'll defer to the CAO, of course, but the director's report itself attached to the SLRD newsletter, or do you mean a reference to the director's report?
A reference.
Okay.
Thank
So
you.
moved and seconded. All the question, all in favor, opposed, motion carried. Okay, thank you. 8.2. Furry Creek Spit Viewing Platform Interpretive Science, Director Rainbow. That up to 5,000 be allocated from Area D select funds for the purpose of erecting 2 interpretive signs by the viewing platform at Furry Creek. Invoices will be sent directly to Finance Department for payment.
I wondered if Miss Leslie would like to say anything. I'm fine seconding.
Do you want to move that, Leslie?
I would move. I'm not looking at the agenda. I'm only looking at the notes, so I'm not able to see what the motion is. So Vivian, if you wouldn't mind putting that forward, that would be terrific. Please.
Yep. I'd like to move that up to $5,000 be allocated from Area D select funds for the purpose of erecting 2 interpretive signs by the viewing platform at Furry Creek. And the invoices to be provided directly to the Finance Department for payment. So it's up
Okay.
to 5,000. So moved.
Okay, moved and seconded. Call the question, all in favor, opposed, motion carried. 8.3. Area D Community Associations Funding, Director Rainbow. Okay, I'll read this. Can you see this, Leslie, or not?
Yes, I can see it. I realized after I had said that the last time that the motion was right in front of me, so I was ignorant about that. My apologies, but I'm wondering if I should call a conflict of interest on this next motion because it does include the Ashlew Creek Foundation, of which I chair.
Okay, thank you. Kristen?
Thank you, Chair. So, if the committee wished to pull the Ashlew one out and consider that as a separate motion, with director to be declaring a conflict and leaving for that, or she can leave for the entire thing that incorporates the other item, the other organizations to which she does not have a conflict. Just two ways to proceed.
So I think she only needs to step aside for the Ashlew one and come back for the other three.
Correct. That's one pathway. Yeah.
Okay, well, that would be my recommendation. So we need a motion to approve that? Or,
No,
okay,
Let's do them one at a time.
so then, yeah, we'll just do the one at a time, but so Leslie then gets put into the waiting room, is that the idea?
yes.
We'll see in a minute or two.
I won't go too far.
No. Okay.
Yeah. I'll make a motion to approve the Britannia Beach Community Association.
No,
Oh, sorry, the
Ashlew.
Ashlew Creek Foundation.
Yeah, moved and seconded.
for $1,000 from Area D Select Funds.
Yeah,
So moved.
okay, call a question. All in favor, opposed, motion carried. Okay. I'll bring her back. Hi, Leslie, you're back.
So
Great.
I would like to make a motion to approve $1,000 from Area D Select Funds for Britannia Beach Community Association.
I think we can do all three then.
Okay. And $1,000 for the Paradise Valley Leaseholders Association, as well as $2,000 from the Pinecrest Lake Society, all from Area D Select Funds.
Okay, moved and seconded. Call a question, all in favor, opposed, motion carried. Thank you. Correspondence for action, request for funding, Ponderosa Community Fire Smart Wildlife Mitigation. And I will move this, and I'll also just like to say that these people do an amazing job, and I think at some point, I'm gonna try and get Maud and Mark and Rob and anybody else that's interested to do a road trip and go up and see. I'll check when they're gonna do their spring work. Because it's really neat to see these folks have done an amazing job fire smarting their community. So I think, as I keep saying every year, they're the poster child for, if everybody worked the way these folks do, everybody'd be better off. So anyways, I will move this. Second it, call a question, all in favor, opposed, motion carried. Thank you.
And we could certainly include the invitation to some of my brigades, but it's a long way to come, but Pavilion, Yalicum, Shellac all have,
Yeah.
working groups. And also Mike Morley's been generous in sharing some of their documents and work with some of the other groups when they ask, so we thank him. What you got there? An alert?
No, I just got my invitation for my COVID.
Yep, spring boosters are coming available
Yeah.
now.
That's very
If
nice.
you have not,
So thank you for that. Okay, so now we're off to 9.2, request for funding Seton Valley Volunteer Firefighter
Right.
Society, Area B, Frank Richings Fund.
I
Vivian.
would like to move with a great deal of pleasure from the Area B Select Funds, the amount of $2,583.74, which is the remaining funding in the previously allocated Area B Frank Richings Fund towards the Seton Valley Volunteer Firefighters Society.
I'll second it.
Thank you.
Yeah, excellent. Moved and seconded, call the question, all in favor, opposed, motion carried. 9.3, request for funding, Signal Hill Elementary School, Healing Through Harvest Garden Pilot Project. And I will definitely move this.
Second,
And yeah, Sal, go ahead.
No, let's take the vote.
Okay.
Then I got a comment.
Moved and seconded, call the question, all in favor, opposed, motion carried.
Make a comment.
Yeah,
After reading. As you know, I roast pigs, and I've probably done about 140 of my time. And going through this, when they have a pig or a pit cookout,
yeah,
it's just phenomenal. I've tried to get invited to a few over my time, especially with Darwin and John from Squamish-Lillooet there. I haven't been able to be to one yet, one of the First Nations ones, but one day I will. So when I looked at that, I thought, wow, these guys are pretty impressive what they're doing.
yeah, no, this is amazing program. Yeah, really neat. So maybe we'll get you invited to their pit. In fact, I'll be meeting with this Claire Fuller's husband, who's Dr. Fuller, on Friday for some other stuff. But anyways, no, that's wonderful. It's a great program. I hope they can, yeah, get a regular stream of funding going to maintain it, because what they want to do is they want to align themselves with the secondary school and the Lions, all the community gardens and Emerald's community garden, the village, so that they're all working coordinated. Yeah, it's cool. So thank you for that. Now, request for funding, East Lillooet Recreation Society, environmental cleanup for tire disposal. I'm sure that's,
I'm thrilled to recommend this, and I'm really pleased. This volunteer group, they're astounding group, and what they're doing is a wonderful cleanup, and they're requesting $2,500 from electoral Area B Select Funds towards the cost of the environmental cleanup of tires from the former stock car track site. I would like to move that.
Second.
very good. Moved and seconded, call the question, all in favor, opposed, motion carried. 9.5, request for funding Sea to Sky Invasive Species Council. Sea to Sky Invasive Species Council requests funding in the total amount of $10,651.88 from electoral area C and electoral area D to address 2023 budget gaps. And I've talked to Tony about this, and we're both fully on board with this. The only thing that I was wondering is, no, I'll just leave it. I was going to say, I would rather take this out of amenity funds rather than select funds.
Do you want to bring Suzanne in?
Yeah, please.
I'm not sure if she knows what item we're on, so she'll need to.
Yeah, I'll talk. Yeah.
Yeah, of course, because we already fund those. No. They could come on, no.
Hi, Suzanne. Just a question. We're on 9.5, the Sea to Sky Invasive Species Council. I would like Area C's portion of that money to come from amenity funds. Is that all right with that?
Yeah, that shouldn't be an issue to change from select funds to amenity funds.
Okay, well, thank you very much for that. And, you know, I don't know, Leslie, we'll let Tony decide if he wants to leave it select or whatever, but I'd like to do amenity funds just so that I have more leverage with my select funds going down the road here.
So I think that would just, I think Kristen's probably saying this as well, but it'd have to go to the board for approval.
Yes, I understand that.
Okay.
Great. Yeah. Okay,
So, Chair, if we can break those into two resolutions, then maybe the first one being the recommendation of the board that, and I'm just splitting that number in half, so $5,325.94 from Area C amenity funds.
okay,
I'll second it.
moved and seconded. Call the question, all in favor, opposed, motion carried. Thank you for that, and thank you, Suzanne.
Do you need another resolution on area D, or is that already covered?
Yeah, no, that's already covered.
No, we need it. We need one. If it's coming from select funds, that
Tony,
same.
for area D.
Yeah.
Okay, so moved and seconded. Leslie's good with that?
Yes.
Okay. Moved and seconded, call the question, all in favor, opposed, motion carried. Thank you.
Director Mack, I got a conflict of interest with 9.6.
Okay,
As my daughter is an employee of the BRCA, and my wife is a director on the board.
we'll see you in a minute. Okay, so 9.6, request for funding, Bridge River Valley Community Association pitch-in week. Bridge River Valley Community Association requests funding of $500 from electoral area A select funds towards the 2023 pitch-in week event. I'll move that.
I'll second that.
Okay, moved and seconded, call the question, all in favor, opposed, motion carried. Thank you. So. Okay, decision on additional late business, I don't believe there is.
We have three.
No,
Uh,
I don't think.
There's three items that came in on the agenda.
They're late business.
Oh, I see, yes, yes. Excuse me, Chair.
Okay, okay, late business. Request for decision, community works funds, area D projects. That it be recommended to the regional board. Have you, and now, have you got this, that you can see all this, Leslie?
Yes, I can see all of it. I didn't have an opportunity to speak with Tony about it. There is significant amount of money that's being requested and being rescinded. So I look to you all for advice about it because I don't have a lot of background on it.
Mr. France may know more.
Yeah, Suzanne, do you want to just sort of give us Tony's thoughts on this? I think he did speak to you about all these.
Yeah, so during budget deliberations and discussions with Utilities and Environmental Services Department, there was a lot of capital needs for Area D, which is included in this report. And so there, and Tony is very eager to use up his community works funds as the program is ending. And so we're striving to spend these funds before, or allocate them to projects before the program ends. And he was supportive of using his community works funds as needed for the budget capital replacements. And these are for water and sewer services. And then last year, there was a request for the third party Sorka project for the Diamond Head parking lot expansion. And so that has finally been reviewed, and that one is coming after Tony has already reviewed this one as well. So I don't see any issues with his support for these projects. I really wanted to get this through this month just for that Sorka project, because I know they're keen to start actually constructing that parking, that extended parking area. And this is the time to start. So if the EAD is okay with having Leslie not being 100% on these projects, we can approve them at this meeting to be recommended to the board for approval. But if there's any hesitation, we can always wait another month. And I'll just let Sorka know that it hasn't yet been, it'll be approved in the May board meeting instead of the April board meeting.
I think you're okay with us moving along with this, are you not, Leslie?
I'm fine with it. I guess one question that I had with regards to the Sorka project is, do they have all of the permits in place now? Did it seem that there was something that was outstanding that they were waiting to get final permit for in order to be able to proceed forward with that parking space?
So I've been in conversations with Sorka, and they just had renewed their management contract with the province for managing all of their recreation trails, including this parking area now. So it was added into their new management contract with the province that they would be managing this parking area. They called it a pseudo parking area because it's not created yet in the management agreement, but it's all detailed in there now. So there's less of an issue. I was waiting for this management agreement to be renewed because it was going to be expired, and the Community Works funds require at least an ownership of 6 years for the infrastructure. So this covers that off now that there's a new management agreement that states this parking lot will be under their control for 10 years. I believe that the contract is for. So I have all of that backup as well. But it was approved from the province. It's land owned by the province.
That's what I thought. Okay, that answers my question. Thank you. Then I'm in full support of this.
Okay, Kristen, for you, can we do all these stats together, or we need to do them one at a time?
Thanks, Chair. Since they're all recommendations, they can all go together. All recommendations to the board. Yeah, thanks.
So
I've just got, I'll make that motion, but I got one question for Director LaFrance. With the Community Works Fund, so by April 1st next year, we have to clean that out? All the directors?
It's not mandatory, but it's suggested that we allocate at least these funds to projects. The fear is that the province will look at this and say, we don't need any more funding if we're not allocating it and spending it, because the program is ending, and there most likely will be a new program, but we definitely want to give the Community Works funds allocations a good review and make sure that we're allocating these amounts as soon as we can. So really area A and B, area A, you have most of yours already allocated. B has about 300,000 to be allocated, but area C is the biggest amount to still be allocated. Then I'll be working with UES to develop projects for the Community Works funds for area C.
yeah, I was going to bring that up actually, so we'll talk about that in a minute, but
Your fire trailer.
so moved and seconded then,
Yeah.
all these stats.
Okay.
Okay, moved and seconded, call the question, all in favor, opposed, motion carried. So, Suzanne, you and I will have to get together then and come up with some plans for like the Devine and Darcy water systems. We know that they need to be upgraded because they're way past the end of life. So we need to do that. So look forward to that discussion.
Similarly in B, of course, I have lots of great ideas, but maybe we could have a conversation, Suzanne.
Yeah, with the utilities department, of course, but yes.
Okay.
Yes, exactly. So, yeah, we will be talking, all of us. Wonderful. Okay, 11.2, Directors for Britannia Beach Playground, Director Rainbow. That it be recommended to the board that the cost required to complete the Britannia Beach Playground project be allocated from Area D gas tax community works funds.
Chair, sorry to interrupt. Can I also request the same resolution as I requested for Director Rainbow's other director's reports, and that's that this be heard in despite his absence?
Yes.
Thank you.
Moved and seconded. Okay, call the question, all in favor, opposed, motion carried. Thank you for that. You're good with this, Leslie?
Yes, I'm fine. One of the questions it seemed that Tony had in his report was that he's saying my first request is for the staff to determine if this can be done with regards to the funds being needed to pay for both of these things, and prefer that they would be included in the total cost for the project from Community Works Fund. So I guess that would be you, Suzanne, who would be able to speak to that.
Yeah, so when we were talking about the budget with Tony and particularly the Britannia Beach Playground, there was mention that there's still some landscaping that needs to be done. And I asked Tony if it's okay if we add that into the Community Works Fund project. And I think that's where this report is coming from, stemming from. And it's minor grass basically that we're going to be adding, and it shouldn't impact, like there's $7,000 left approximately of his community works funds, and it should be fine to use that for the remaining Britannia Beach Playground project. We don't know what the total will be, and I don't particularly think we need to put a up to amount for this. It's just going to be a minor addition, and there's already, I think, 3 resolutions about the Britannia Beach Playground being used for Community Works Fund. So this will be the 4th.
Very good.
Okay, thank you.
So do you want to move that, Leslie?
Yes, I'd like to make a motion that the staff be requested to cover the costs required to complete the playground project from the Community Works Fund. And that if this is not possible, up to $6,000 be allocated from Area D select funds.
Thank you. Moved and seconded. Call the question, all in favor? Oh, Kristen, go ahead.
Thank you. Sorry to interrupt. There are two, we would want to split that into 2 resolutions, but I believe that the Director of Finance has already confirmed that we don't need that second part of that resolution. Is that correct, Suzanne?
Yep. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So just the first recommend portion, if I might suggest just the first portion, which is a recommendation to the board regarding the Community Works Fund source.
Exactly. So the motion would be that the staff be requested to cover the costs required to complete the playground project from the Community Works Fund.
Okay, and I'll
Okay.
second that.
Okay, moved and seconded. Call the question, all in favor, opposed, motion carried. Thank you very much. 11.3, request for funding, Blackwater Creek Elementary School Parent Advisory Committee, end of year field trip. Blackwater Creek Elementary School Parent Advisory Committee requests funding of 1,500, I'm gonna put. So I'll amend that, 1,500 from the electoral area C select funds towards Blackwater Creek Elementary Schools end of the year field trip. And I'll move that.
And I'll second that.
Okay, so moved to seconded, call the question, all in favor, opposed, motion carried. Thank you very much. Director's notice of motion, none. Tony's not here, so we can't adjourn. Oh, God, what are we gonna do?
I'll make the motion to adjourn.
Okay, thank you. So the meeting is adjourned. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you, Leslie. Thank you, Suzanne. Thank you, Kirsten.
My pleasure. Nice to see everyone.
Thank you. Bye, everybody.
somewhere.